And that is what I really learned. More so that design is not only about delivering what you love as a product, but right product at the right time, right place is the whole package that one needs to deliver. A 360-degree approach.
Hello everybody. Today's video is going to be mind-blowing because the guest who is joining us is the Assistant Vice President of India's biggest fashion retail conglomerate. So this person is a live example of impossible achievement because she started her career as a junior menswear designer and finally became Assistant Vice President. So this video is going to be a gold mine for everybody who thinks that fashion is not just their hobby, but it's a hardcore business. So I welcome Namrata Nyasi for the show. So Namrata, I'm so grateful to you that you actually took out time off your busy schedule to join with me for this video. And I'm really thankful that we still have people like you in fashion industry who would want to share their real life experiences with people who want to make their career in this fashion industry. So Namrata, my first question to you is, I really want you to advise all those young designers who have just joined fashion industry or who are about to join fashion industry.
My advice would be that in general you would get sucked in by the day-to-day work, and you would be told to do basic day-to-day work, basic just work with a merchandiser or work with a designer, help cut swatches and things like that. Maximize on it, and more opportunity you get to work with different departments. Do that, work under a designer, work under a merchant, work under a pattern maker. So important to learn the processes of the organization, because maybe once you get into hardcore designing you will not get a chance to get exposed to all those things, because you would not be expected to get a chance. You would be so involved in your product and design that then you will actually never look in that direction. But that will make you so holistic. When you are given to design a range for a brand, the brand is literally giving out the heart to you to write the next history for the brand. And to be able to do that, you need to know the brand. Spend more and more time in the stores. Be there on weekends where there are a lot of footfalls, and look at customers who are not buying anything. What are they missing in your store? What is the lost opportunity? You will be masters of design when you know the day-to-day work of your organization. So make most of it, and then when you get to designing, it will be so wholesome. It will not be a individual designing, a designer designing. It will be somebody from that brand designing for that brand, which will really be valued.
Namrata, I want to ask that, when I look at fashion industry, there are two kind of fashion brands that are available. I know many fashion designers who have good fame in the industry, but somehow they are not able to pay their salaries well. Their bank accounts are zero. And then there are some designers like Anita Dongre, who has become the richest designer of all. So what is, and Anita Dongre is also termed as the commercial designer. So I'm very much interested in knowing, how does the commercial designing happens? What is the commercial design process? Is it different from the more conceptual design process, or what is it?
In the future, backwards, keeping the history in mind, or knowing what you need to deliver and go backwards into it. So yeah, design, if I'm only talking about commercial design when you're working for an organization. Yes. Customer is the key. You need to know what you need to deliver and go backwards into it. Is what we also look at, whether you know how it would flatter the body, or you are just thinking of the garment looking so pretty on the hanger, whether you know that she will feel beautiful when she wears it, and then she will not think twice before picking this up. So yeah, thinking of the customer psyche, of I'm taking fit as an example because that's a big one right now in fashion designing. Garments that flatter your body could be, fitness is a big rage, but the bottom line is people who have, I'm talking about a mental age of 30 plus, are not always fit. You have customers, a mixed bag of customers who are little, fuller on sizes. So how can you think of their psyche? What will they like to wear? What is the occasion that you're designing for? So very important, whether she will wear this and pay X amount for a day wear garment in my brand. So thinking of the occasion of where the customer is wearing is so important while you're designing. So again, more and more thinking from the customer's point of view. Very helpful.
Thank you so much, Namrata. That's a great answer. Now, my third question is coming out of my experience as a teacher. Like, I have seen many designers who just come out of the college. They have an attitude of an artist. They really want to create something unique, something exclusive, something beautiful, something that has their own signature, right? And when they come to the professional world, it is really pushed by a very price competitive market. And when these designers, when they are transitioning from their academy into professional world, and when they see this very limited MRPs, they actually get very frustrated, right? And because of this frustration, many of the designers, they actually they feel stuck. They don't know where they, how to even adapt to this change. So what would be your advice to these designers, how they can look at their transitioning from an academic designer to a practicing designer in this price competitive market?
Yes, it is a challenge because we do get ambitious when we are creating a design and we want people to just love it and own it. So we do generally get a little over ambitious. This is a general statement because when I used to design, I used to add a trim which is extra, which is not required, but that's my signature. Otherwise it will look so basic. What is different in it? But the whole thing is how much can you declutter it closer to the brief. That is important. You don't have to make it look maybe unique all the time. Maybe sometimes delivering a basic is important. If it is just cut right, it has the right color, that's it. You don't need to always add things. Think of decluttering, removing, simplicity. That's what the brand that I work in also believes in. And I also see a lot of fashion going towards that, basics, simple, clean cuts, but well thought through performance, well thought through price, well thought through fit. So yeah, these things are important. One shouldn't get too over ambitious and load the design with too much of signature elements. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Namrata, for that answer. Now, my next question is coming out of my own observation of the fashion industry. Now, when I go to a fashion designer's store, I see a certain number of styles in the store. But when I enter a fashion brand, like let's say Zara, H&M, Fab India, I see there are these millions of styles that are hanging inside a ready-to-wear commercial brand. So how do these commercial brands, how do they even plan their seasons? How do they plan so many styles? What is the science behind it? Because when you are making so many styles, there is a lot of inventory that gets created. How do you plan your season?
So in my brand, what we currently do is there are two set of groups. One is a hardcore design group and one is a buying group, people who select the collection. So the buying group basically starts by, first the number work of the targets of how much, what is the money which is going behind this collection and all that. Once that is established, we make something called a option plan. So just to simplify it, if I have to make a collection of 50, what is my mix of print to solid to layers? What is my category split? How many tops, how many dresses, how many bottoms, how many ensembles am I going to plan the whole range with. And all this comes from past analysis, past data, sell through, and a mix of trends. So for example, the trends on dresses is too high right now, and a lot of girls are not wearing trousers. Trouser is a trend which is out. So I would tweak my buy plan, option plan like that, and build the whole structure, the gray material of a collection. Then I would sit with the designers and try to understand the concepts. So right now we're working on summer 19, and we're looking at the colors based on the trends. But for our brand, as I told you, we do not use international trends. We take inspirations from different different tribes or architectural monuments of India. So I take a pitch from the designers that this is what they are looking at. For example, they were looking at some architecture out of Rajasthan for the summer 19 first 2 months, January and February. So we look at that, we look at the option plan, and then we see how we can marry the techniques out of those trends. How can we translate it? We also break the collection, because I am coming from a brand with a lot of legacy and history. Of course, there are a lot of classics. So what is the percentage in my collection which will be trend led? What will be the percentage which will be seasonal, and how much will be core? So we look at those things, and then we make the whole plan of developing new bodies, muslins. Also parallelly, print is a very big story for my brand. So I look at in my prints what will be the breakup of screen prints and block prints and tie dyes. We get to the number working of that, and then we look at the new prints which are getting developed based on trends. We do shortlisting, and it is so important to balance the collection. If it is a piece of 50 garments, a capsule, then as per my working, I can only take 10 garments which are printed. So I decide that okay, out of 10 my prints will only have 2 stories. So that what we do is we imagine the garments as a collection on the rack, month on month. As a capsule, it shouldn't be print heavy, it should be with full ensembles, it should have the colors to match with, of bottoms, of layers. So once the concept and the buy plan is presented, then the stage 2 is sampling and presentation, wherein we create racks of how it will be shipped in the store. And we also look at things that we all know that deliveries of garments do not happen exactly as per the plan. So 80% will be on plan and 20% will be spillover. So between my 2 capsules, is there a bridge? Are they very different? Suddenly if one is not selling and the other one comes in the store, will they look very abrupt together? So the collections next to each other should merge with each other. So we look at all these aspects, and also to look at whether it will merge with my old stock in the store. Suddenly I can't do poppy red in the store, and the store in the past winter season was all black. It might look very weird. Even the old stock will not sell. So how can we merge it and also cross sell what is already there in the store? So we look at all these aspects, and then we do the shortlisting. And when we do shortlisting, so for example for 50 we sample 80. We do the curation is a process which is purely done stepping into the shoes of a customer. Then I'm not a buyer, I'm not a designer, I am just a customer walking into a Fab India store, and I'm looking at this collection, imagining that I also have the old collection, and then we think of whether is this making sense, is the price point cheaper, same, or more expensive than the earlier collection. If it is expensive, how do we justify it to the customer? So the garment passes through 4 or 5 checklists of whether the fabric is beautiful, the color is beautiful, the technique is beautiful, the fit is beautiful, the price is beautiful. If it ticks all these, then the garment is in the collection, and that's how we shortlist it and curate the line. So now is the age, I have also seen this change. I have been working as a designer in the industry, and when you talk about the deliverables of a designer, it's generally delivering a beautiful collection. But now is the age, I have seen organizations setting benchmarks for designers, wherein their selection rate is something that they are judged on. So if you're presenting a line of 100 and out of which 80 garments are selected, then your selection rate is very high. And I would say that earlier, when I was only a design person, I would feel that this is unfair, this is so subjective. I might love it, they might not love it, but that's not what matters. They have to love it, People who are selecting the fashion for the brand need to love it. Now, there would be some pieces which would always go into litigation of good, bad, risk pieces. That always will be there, but I'm talking about the majority of the collection. That should be your pitch of how much selection rate you attain. Yeah. Also, just wanted to add one point on selection rate and plus sell-throughs. How are the sales figures of your design so important?
Yeah. Namrata, my next question is coming out of this divide that we have in fashion education in India. Every year there are some more than 1 lakh applicants who apply for NIFT, which is supposed to be the most renowned fashion college in India. Then there are some other very, very premium and very high priced private colleges. And then we have some colleges which are not very renowned, which sometimes are considered as the second grade or third grade college. So there are these fashion students who are impeccably talented, and maybe they feel that they have not got their chance into a renowned college, so maybe their careers would not be as great as what these Niftians or Pearl people or Srishti people can take care of. So my question is, have these renowned colleges monopolized the careers in the fashion industry? By that I mean, do you only hire people from these renowned colleges? And what are the things that you are basically looking at when you are interviewing a fashion candidate?
So I do get a lot of CVs and people come and meet us for design roles. And so conventionally, and this is happening, there's a huge change in past 2-3 years, that we first talk to the person, like I said, we look at the confidence levels, the content of the designer, what is the person all about, what is the design philosophy, why does the person want to work in our brand, is the person, he or she, open to learning, and then in the end we look at where the design education has happened, because it is not that relevant for a designer to come from a certified design college, or he could be from a online small course or from a polytechnic or from wherever, because design is something which is not really like a taught kind of subject. It is also a self-taught, and it is also a evolving kind of a field wherein in a math or something you learn and you get a degree and that is it. But in design, based on experience and your skill set, you keep evolving it. So it does not really matter. And I would also say that people want fresh ideas. That's design. That is what design all about. So rather we look at people from different schools who have who've had different experiences in life, different kind of exposures, because they'll get something fresh on the table. So it hardly matters if the person is coming from a glorified design fashion college or from a slightly smaller scale design college, but has the want to do things, is open to learning, has some brilliant projects to show me, and he can talk about the projects, he talks about his research. That's it. That works for us.
Yeah, that's a very good answer, Namrata. Now, my next question is coming out of my experience as a masterclass by Marc Jacobs, and in that masterclass he says inspiration is very difficult. But as a commercial brand, I think that every season you have so many collections coming out. And how do commercial brands like yours, how do they take inspiration, and what is the whole process? Where do you look at, and what are the best ways to even research for inspiration for young designers?
It's different. I mean, every time it depends on your creative process. Conventionally starts from the runway, from the trends that you see on WGSN. what are the big talking stories. So that is one way of the conventional approach. Second is, you can look at a lot of cultural movements happening across the world, and with the new age that we are in with social media, make most of it and get inspired from different cultures. We are so rich in India and abroad to pull out inspirations from conversations, from small movements, from small demographic changes that we are seeing, from social changes. So yeah, lifestyles, they give you so much of inspiration, like like being athletic is one big trend. Craft is a big story. Now how do you take inspiration out of it for your brand? You don't have to just replicate it, you need to get inspired from it. So that's when your flavor comes in. How do you translate that into your brand? So it is different every time. You could be inspired from a piece of textile, from a heritage piece, from a forecast, from a trend, from some other brand. Could be different every time, and there is no end to it. I mean, inspiration is just all around. It's how you also draw examples out of it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Namrata, for that answer. Now, the next question is that, whenever we are taking interviews, and there are a lot of time students send me a message on my YouTube that, I have very poor sketching skill. Can I become a fashion designer? So what do you think? Is it like a essential skill for anybody to have great sketching abilities to become a fashion designer? Or all right, so designers with poor sketching skills, can they be successful?
Absolutely. So many other ways to translate. Just get to developing the language to translate what do you have in here. And if you are able to do that, now there are various tools. If you can't illustrate, maybe you can get your software skills developed, like Photoshop and Illustrator or CorelDRAW, and there also the templates are already ready. There is a mannequin, there's a croquis, there's a bodice, everything is there. You can get into, doodling is such a cool way of expressing your design. So just know the hang of what you can do and then develop it. Don't get into conventional, etching and conventional making a proportionate good looking croquis all the time. Just think of a creative way of expressing your design, and there are multiple ways if you go to internet and you choose your path and build on it. Some people use watercolors to express their design, some people use only pencil, charcoal, some people use text CADs and things like that. Some people I know best of designers, they only express their designs through tech packs. So no draping, no shading, flat sketches. So I see that and then I straight away see a muslin. So it depends how you want to express.
Namrata, one more thing. As a teacher, I have seen that there are some subjects like pattern making and garment sewing, which a lot of students don't get. So do you think that if somebody is not great at garment sewing or great at pattern making, they cannot be great designers?
First, get to know a very good pattern maker and a pattern master. That will help you. In a brand, generally there is a setup which does sampling for you. And again, being a designer, you're not responsible to stitch the garment, you're responsible to, your basic job is to communicate that to the person who's stitching it. How can you explain? So you need to know the basics. Armhole need to sit like this. This is called a raglan sleeve. This is a set-in sleeve. You need a cuff with so much of width. If you can't draw it, if you can't make it, if you can't cut it, that's absolutely okay. But what you need to know is once your piece is ready, you put it on a body, you need to have the eye to say, the fall is wrong, I need more bulk, or my design was this or not that. So sharpen your eye. That is important.
Alright. Namrata, I'm very, very curious to know your fashion journey. Because with my 20 years of experience in fashion, I think I know very few people who have been able to become vice president, who have been able to get higher management positions in such big fashion conglomerates who started as designers. And you started as assistant designer, and with your hard work and grit and your perspective towards career, you were able to achieve such a high position. So I want to know, what was your thought process? What was your mentality when you started working?
Right. So as I told you, I graduated as a fashion designer from NIFT Delhi. And after my 3 years of formal education, first I interned at an organization where my role was to develop a collection. And then when I formally joined, my first job I remember was in Raymond Apparel. Literally it was many years ago, and it was the first time that they were hiring young blood out of a fashion college. So it was equally different and experimental for them as much for me. And Raymond was a very heritage, led brand with years and years of history. So I was responsible to deliver a collection for menswear which fitted into the DNA of the brand. That was my first role, and I was working under a senior who used to guide me. So in couple of months I understood, coming out of NIFT, you want to do a lot of new things, but I understood that the DNA of Raymond was to do with more and more textiles and not so much to do with styling. So I molded myself towards textiles, and I got into the nitty-gritties of developing new textiles, essentially wool and wool blends, and that's what I really did and learned. And also I learned about the nuances of our country. Raymond is a brand, who has a vast footprint all over our country and abroad. So right from a tier 3 city to a village to like a Carter Road, on Hill Road, they have the swanky showrooms. So to understand the dynamics of how a same brand can cater to different kind of people was my challenge, and that is what I learned, and I did more and more in my first job. Raymond happened to me like a campus placement. It was not that I had multiple companies to choose from. My intention as a student was go to a brand which is more secured and which is established. That's what I was looking at. And for me, right from the time that I was a student, for me, everybody has different things that drives them. For me, design and doing something different and radical was to mold the creative thought process towards what sells and towards the requirement to the market. So that worked beautifully for me. I was a creative person. I used to design couture and women's wear and colors, but here I was in a brand which only talked about just 4 colors: black, navy and charcoal, menswear, hardcore tweeds, but yet I had to crack it. So that was the radical thing for me, to make something to fit in a price point as per the DNA of the brand. That was radical, and that is what I really learned. More so that design is not only about delivering what you love as a product, but right product at the right time, right place is the whole package that one needs to deliver. A 360-degree approach.
Hello everybody, if you learned anything new from this video, I would request you to help me in growing my channel. So you can kindly subscribe to the channel. And you can also visit my website gauravmandal.com, where you would find online courses on fashion books, and lot of free stuff that would help you to become a bigger designer.